The day before Thanksgiving, I went all out to propose to my girlfriend. We went to our favorite band's concert in Florida, and I followed up with tickets to Disney World. I proposed inside the Disney castle, and luckily for me, she said yes. The next morning, we were on our way home when about 30 minutes into our flight, we heard over the intercom that one of the engines wasn't working, so we had to return to the airport for an emergency landing. Upon entering back into the terminal, my now fiance turned off her phone from airplane mode. She was instantly flooded with many voicemails from an unknown number. She immediately called back, fearing that maybe it was a family emergency. But as she began talking on the phone, her face paled white. I told her to give me the phone. "Who is this?" I asked. On the other end, all I heard was a deadly voice saying, "I will kill you both as soon as you land in Seattle." I asked again, "Who is this?" But he just hung up. Neither one of us had any idea who this stranger could be. I called back numerous times, and the same voice kept repeating the time we were going to land. Little did he know that our flight was delayed. I used to work at a telecom company, so I was able to pull some strings to find the man's name and address. We still had no idea who this person was, but when my fiance looked him up on Facebook, she noticed she had one mutual friend. It was her ex-best friend, Karen. They were no longer talking as she was heavy into drugs and stole money from my fiance. After some investigating, we realized that the man was Karen's new best friend's boyfriend. Our only theory was that Karen had seen our engagement announcement on Facebook and was upset to see what a great time we were having. I called the number again and told him that if he came near us, I was armed and I knew where he lived and would not be afraid to take things a step further if he continued harassing us. He hung up the phone again. So my next step was calling the Seattle area law enforcement. Unfortunately, they wouldn't do anything about it because it was a holiday. We called the emergency line next, and they said the same thing. We were literally on our own. We ended up flying back about 9 hours after our original arrival time. When we landed, my fiance and I received another voicemail. Mine was from my dad, who told me the neighbors had called him and informed him that my mailbox was destroyed, and that apparently it looked like a car ran it over and stole my mail. Her voicemail was much worse. The man yelled, "Where were you? How dare you?" and other terrible things. I dropped my fiance off at her house, ensuring her safety, and returned to mine. A brick had been thrown into one of my windows, and attached to it was a picture of my fiance and Karen. The following day, I filed a police report, but they couldn't do anything without physically seeing them on my property. After 3 weeks of silence, I received a text from him. It was a picture of my fiance at work. I instantly called her and told her to hide in her back room. We called the police, but he was gone once we got to the same spot where the photo was taken. I've had enough of these games. I knew his address, so the second I had the chance, I swung by and dropped off a note attached to a critical defense .40 caliber bullet. I wrote, "This is your last chance to leave her alone. This is your only warning." It's been almost 9 months, and we haven't seen or heard anything from that man or Karen. During my first year of college, my friend Angela and I would carpool from our hometown to the university we both went to. We weren't close in high school, but naturally grew closer through our shared car ride home. To put it in perspective, it takes about 5 hours to get home, so we tend to switch spots or at least keep each other company by talking and goofing off. We were heading back to our dorms during Thanksgiving break. As usual, we partook in deep conversations, and I decided to pull out my Snapchat to record funny videos with a flashlight out since it was dark. Suddenly, we see red and blue lights flashing, followed by sirens. Great, I thought. We're getting pulled over at 2 a.m. Angela pulled to the side, but the 2 police officers were taking their sweet time, and it took a couple of minutes until one of them got to Angela's window. It didn't make sense that we were getting pulled over in the first place. She wasn't going over the speed limit. "Hey there, ladies," said the one by Angela's window. "How are y'all doing tonight?" A creepy smile leaked from his lips. But Angela didn't appear weirded out like I was and simply replied, "Good. Was there a reason for stopping us?" "Going over the speed limit," he claimed. Confused, she said, "Okay, do you need any documentation?" To which he responded, "No. While all this was happening, the second cop at my window signaled me to roll down my window. He then began making inappropriate comments, pointing his flashlight towards my crotch while smiling, telling me how long my legs were and asking questions that seemed unrelated to why we were pulled over. The first cop asked, "Are y'all in college?" To which we responded, "Yes." Shortly after, I realized we had screwed up. Now they knew we were not close to campus. Then he says, "College girls, huh?" to the other cop with that eerie smile. We were beyond creeped out and desperate to get out of the situation, but they wouldn't let us go. They kept making strange comments like, "Do you know there's a prison nearby? And would anyone know if something happened to you here, all alone, on the road?" I was in shock and couldn't believe this was happening to us. Angela proceeded to ask if she was getting a ticket. The man on her side of the car said, "No, y'all be careful now. I wouldn't want anything bad to happen to you pretty ladies. Ain't that right?" Out of nowhere, the officer on my side put his hand on the car handle. He tugged at it a few times. For a second, I stared at him awkwardly. Thankfully, the doors were locked and my window was only down a little bit. Angela quickly thanked them and sped off. We kept looking back to see if they were following us. Luckily, they weren't. To this day, I am unsure of the officer's intentions. The only rational theory was they spotted my flashlight from my Snapchat, which piqued their interest. They saw two young college girls and considered taking advantage of us. Waiting in the patrol car before coming to our car was only to ensure we were alone. My mom was pretty young when she had me. She always looked younger than her age. We were at a local mall on Black Friday shopping for her new work clothes when a couple approached us, commenting on how cute I was. She thanked them and walked away. A while later, she noticed that the couple had been tailing us from store to store. Not sure if it was a coincidence, she headed to the food court, conveniently located next to the security desk. The couple approached her once again and praised her bravery for being a teenage mom, but suggested that she shouldn't spend her youth burdened with a child. They believed they could do a better job raising me and offered her $5,000 for me. My mom was furious. She told them she wasn't a teenage mom and threatened to call security if they didn't leave us alone. They got angry and tried to grab my stroller. That's when my mom took a deep breath and screamed as loudly as she could. 3 security officers came running from different directions, and the couple bolted, leaving me behind. My mom explained the situation to the officers, and 2 of them chased after the couple, while one walked my mom to her car to ensure her safety. The following day, the police called my mom to inform her that the couple had been arrested after they tried to take someone else's baby too. They faced multiple charges of attempted kidnapping. Turns out the wife was infertile, but they didn't want to go through the adoption process, so they would target young blonde mothers, hoping that the baby would also be blonde, like them. During Black Friday, my work had 2 outside employees from within the same company to help us sell phone cases since our store was only a few months old. It sounded like a great idea at the time until one of the helpers, Manny, started to creep on me. Mind you, I was only 17 and still in high school. He was in his 40s, but the age gap was the least of my worries. He would constantly call himself a prisoner of war, as if it was something to brag about. He also had this false friendliness that I couldn't quite shake, and it only got worse when he told me I wasn't going to sell phone cases because I was just going to shadow him. At every chance he got, he would belittle me because I was a girl, saying sarcastic comments. I tried not to mind him and did my work as I usually did, but as expected, things only got worse. He eyed my hand, which had a ring on my wedding finger. He asked if I was married. I told him truthfully, "No, it's just a promise ring from my boyfriend." "He's a lucky guy," he replied, and when I responded thanks, he looked me up and down and said, "No, I'm serious, he is." From that point on, he was constantly looking at me weird and would call me sweetheart or honey, telling me if I needed anything, all I had to do was ask. I told one of my coworkers about it, so she kept an eye on him for me. She later told me that he was always staring whenever I wasn't looking, just gawking and looking me up and down. The next day he said with a nasty, creepy smile, "So I heard you're 17. You carry yourself very well for a young lady." He continued to put his eyes in inappropriate places and rattled on about if I ever needed help with anything at all, he was a phone call away. He kept bragging about being a prisoner of war. and worst of all, he slipped his number in my hand before leaving for the day. I found out later that he was never a prisoner of war. In fact, he was a wanted criminal of war who was using a fake identity. I was glad things didn't escalate beyond that point because I'm not sure what he was capable of and what he would have done if he had the chance.